The front door wasn't locked. I turned the knob slowly, pushed it open quiet. Inside, the living room looked spotless. No sign of chaos. Then I heard music drifting down from upstairs, slow, sensual R&B. The kind she usually puts on when she's trying to set a mood. My first thought? Maybe she was planning something sweet for me. But then I heard it. Not moaning, nothing that obvious. It was laughter. Her laugh, followed by a deeper voice, one I didn't recognize. Then came the sound. That sick, unmistakable rhythm. The kind that hits a married man like a punch to the chest. I froze there, still holding the tiramisu. My knuckles went white gripping the box. Every logical part of my brain screamed at me. Don't go up there. Turn around. Get out. Call her later. Maybe it's not what you think. But another part, something raw and buried deep, dragged me forward. The stairs creaked under my weight like they were warning her. My breathing was a mess, chest tight, heartbeat pounding so loud I could barely hear the music anymore. The door to our bedroom was halfway open. I didn't need to push it all the way. I saw enough through the crack. Her bare back. Those same red heels up in the air. And him, some ripped, tattoo-covered guy with a smirk on his face like he was proud of wrecking something sacred. They were tangled up in each other, sweaty and shameless, like a couple of animals. The dessert slipped from my hand. It hit the hardwood with a soft thud, then a dull splatter. But that wasn't what made them stop. It was my voice. So this is what you meant by working from home, huh, Stella? She screamed like she'd seen a ghost, yanked the covers up over herself, trying to act like it wasn't too late. The guy? Didn't even flinch. Just calmly reached for his jeans like he owned the place. Stella looked at me, and what I saw on her face wasn't shame. It wasn't guilt. Not even a hint of remorse. Just irritation. Thomas, she said, rolling her eyes like I was the one being unreasonable. You weren't supposed to be here. I didn't know whether to laugh or rip the damn dresser in half. She stood up, still holding the sheet like she was starring in some soap opera, and gave me that look, that calm down, you're overreacting look. Look, she said, brushing her blonde hair behind her ear, like we were about to have some polite discussion over coffee. We've talked about this. I told you I needed space. I told you I wanted something more open. No, I snapped, voice low and shaking. You said you needed time. You said you were overwhelmed. You said you were figuring yourself out. You never said a damn thing about this. She tilted her head at me like I was just slow to catch on. Thomas, we have an open marriage. This isn't cheating. You should be grateful I'm still your wife. That hit harder than anything else she could have said. Grateful, I repeated, trying to make sense of it. Grateful that my wife is getting railed in our bed by a guy who probably can't even spell monogamy? That's when he decided to speak up. Hey man, he said. She told me it was cool. Just chill out. I stepped toward him before I realized it, fist tight, rage boiling. But Stella threw herself in front of him like she was guarding something fragile. You're acting like a lunatic, she hissed. Maybe if you were more of a man, I wouldn't need this. That was it. Everything just stopped. The room went dead silent, except for the thunder in my ears. I backed away slowly, scanning the space. The bed where we once whispered vows to each other. The framed wedding photos still hanging above it like some cruel joke. The drawer where I kept old anniversary cards, now just a box of lies. She didn't care. No apology. No shame. No tears. Just a woman who had rewritten the rules behind my back and expected me to thank her for it. And that's when something inside me gave out. Not rage. Not yet. It was colder than that. Quieter. I didn't shout. I didn't break anything. I just stood there, realizing this marriage was already over. I looked at her one last time, really looked, and locked away that disgustingly calm expression of hers in my mind before walking out the door. But that wasn't the finish line. Not even close. I didn't go back home that night. I mean, sure, I left the house. But it didn't feel like home anymore. Not after what I'd seen. I drove around for hours, no destination in mind. At one point, I realized I'd circled the same few downtown blocks half a dozen times, the engine humming beneath me while I sat there gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing holding my world together. I didn't cry. God knows I wanted to. But it was like even my emotions were stunned, short-circuited, maybe. I felt hollow, like something had burned a hole clean through my chest. Yeah, I was angry. But more than that, I was humiliated. That word just kept bouncing around in my skull, louder than the rest. I'd been steady, loyal to a fault, maybe. I never flirted at bars, never stayed out late. I brought flowers on random Thursdays just to make her smile. I did the little things, because I thought they mattered. Meanwhile, Stella had turned our bedroom into some cut-rate motel, like she was doing me a favor by hiding it behind closed doors. And that look on her face, like I was the issue. Eventually, I ended up at a 24-hour diner. Sat in the back corner with a cup of coffee that tasted like burnt regret. My phone buzzed. It was her. Not a call, just a text. Like I wasn't worth a real conversation. I think we should talk tomorrow. When you're calmer. I didn't mean for you to find out like that. I stared at the words. Read them again. Didn't mean for me to find out like that. Like I walked in on a staff meeting. Like the betrayal wasn't the problem, just the poor timing. I didn't respond. Instead, I started scrolling through our old texts. Birthdays. Dumb memes. Photos of her flipping pancakes in my t-shirt. All of it felt like a lie now. It's crazy how hindsight can twist something warm into something cruel. Nostalgia turns into evidence. Later that night, I booked a cheap motel room. Didn't sleep much. I just laid there, staring at the popcorn ceiling, questions running wild in my head. How long had this been going on? How many guys were there? How the hell did I miss all of it? By morning, I drove back to the house. Not to see her. I didn't want another argument. I just needed to know what else she'd buried from me. She wasn't there when I arrived. So I took my time. Opened doors I normally wouldn't. Dug through her closet. Checked under the bed. And that's when I found it, a black shoebox tucked behind a pile of old sweaters. Inside was a burner phone. My gut dropped. Photos. Videos. Conversations. She documented everything. Different hotel rooms. Different cities. One guy called her his road wife. Another laughed about how her loser husband probably had no clue. There were timestamps. Over a year. A whole damn year. This wasn't just cheating. She had an entire second life. And I was just the background character, the dependable husband she kept around for tax breaks and emotional cushion while she lived out her own X-rated fantasy. Then I heard the front door click. She walked in, humming to herself, holding a smoothie like she'd just wrapped up yoga class. She didn't see me right away. But when she did, she jumped. Thomas. Jesus, you scared me. I raised the burner phone and showed it to her. She froze. Where did you get that? I didn't say a word. Didn't need to. My face said everything. Her eyes narrowed. You went through my stuff? She asked, like I'd violated her trust. That's where her head was at. That was her priority. That's what you're focused on right now? I asked, my voice calm in a way that scared even me. She let out a sigh. Look, I told you. This isn't cheating. We're not living in the 50s, Tom. People explore. I deserve that. You were never enough, but I stayed because I thought you were safe. Then she crossed her arms. Turns out, you're just possessive. I blinked. Possessive? Yeah, she said, doubling down. You act like just because we're married, you own me. Newsflash, I'm not your property. I'm a woman. I have needs. You said we had an open marriage? I asked, stunned. When? When did that happen? 'Cause I sure as hell don't remember agreeing to you screwing half the damn state behind my back. She actually rolled her eyes. Ugh, it's not my fault you're emotionally unavailable. You've been boring, Tom. Predictable. Do you know how suffocating that is? I let out a laugh. Just one. Short. Bitter. So your grand solution was to turn our marriage into a circus? Without even giving me a heads up. Grow up, she snapped. I stayed with you because I pitied you. And that was the last crack. But I didn't raise my voice. I didn't throw anything. I just let the silence swallow the rest. I didn't shed a tear. I walked straight into the bedroom, grabbed my suitcase from the closet, and started packing my things. She stood there watching. Silent. Maybe she thought I'd break down. Maybe she wanted me to yell, to beg her to stop me. But I didn't give her that satisfaction. I gave her nothing. At the door, I paused and looked back at her. You don't get to change the rules and then call me crazy for not following along. She smirked. Bye, Thomas. Don't forget your pride. So I left, one hand gripping a suitcase, the other holding a box full of truth. And my heart? It was finally starting to freeze over. But that wasn't the end. Not even close. That first night away from her was still. Too still. You'd think after catching your wife in the act, hearing her say things that cut through you like broken glass, you'd fall apart right there. But I didn't. Not yet. I sat in a cheap motel room, still fully dressed, lying on top of the covers, staring up at a ceiling I didn't recognize, listening to silence that was somehow louder than my thoughts. I didn't want to call anyone. Not my brother. Not my best friend. Not even my old college roommate, who always hated her guts. I wasn't ready for the "I told you so." I wasn't ready for pity, because pity makes it real. And I wasn't ready to face real. Not yet. Instead, I picked the burner phone back up. I'm not sure why. Maybe I was still looking for something, some clue, some signal, a moment where the woman I loved started becoming someone I didn't even recognize. Or maybe I just wanted to hurt. There were texts from 4 different guys. Photos. Explicit messages. One of them, a guy named Mark, of course it was Mark, called her his queen of chaos. She replied that she liked breaking control freaks. Pretty sure that one was about me. Then I found a video I hadn't noticed before. Just a short clip. She filmed herself in the mirror, buttoning up her blouse, blowing a kiss to the camera. Heading back to the boring husband now, she said. Gotta play the good wife for a few hours. I watched it twice. The first time, I just stared. The second time, I noticed the timestamp. It was our anniversary. The same weekend I'd taken her to that vineyard she always talked about. The one I surprised her with. She cried at dinner that night, told me how lucky she felt, said it was one of the best weekends of her life. And the whole time, she was sending kissy-face videos to some idiot who probably thinks commitment is a vitamin. That's when something in me snapped. Not in a loud, dramatic way. It wasn't violent. But it was final. Permanent. I knew right then I wasn't going back. But I also wasn't letting her walk away like this never happened. I'd stayed silent too long. Swallowed too much. Let myself be blind for too damn many years. Now I had her own words. Her images. Her voice. Her lies. All documented. This wasn't just a failed marriage anymore. It was evidence. So the next morning, I called my lawyer. Are you sure? He asked after I laid it all out for him. I'm not mad, I said. Not even shocked anymore. I'm just done. And I want out clean, with my name still intact. He told me to hold on to the phone, to download everything and back it up. Said we might need it if she tried to make things ugly. And I knew she would. Because I knew Stella. She'd never go quietly. Her ego wouldn't let her. She'd twist the truth. Play the victim. Rebrand herself as the neglected wife. The poor trapped soul who had no choice but to look for comfort elsewhere. And right on cue, 3 days later, she showed up at my work. Tight black dress. Sunglasses. Fake tears. Tom. She called out, loud enough for the whole damn parking lot to hear. Can we please talk? I saw my coworkers glance over. So I motioned her off to the side, toward the edge of the lot where no one could listen in. You're making a scene, I said. You just left, she hissed, the sadness falling off her like it was part of an old costume. You didn't even give me a chance to explain. You explained plenty, I said. With your body. With that camera. With that half-assed excuse for a text message. Her jaw clenched. You're blowing this out of proportion. No, Stella, I said, stepping in closer. You blew up our marriage. I'm just watching the pieces fall. She crossed her arms. And I waited for the next round of lies. So what now, she hissed. You're just gonna make me look like a whore in front of everyone. I didn't even raise my voice. I don't have to make you look like anything. You already handled that yourself. She slapped me. Right there in the parking lot, in front of a few coworkers still watching from a distance. Like a true performer, she gasped right after, stepped back, and whispered, You made me do that. I didn't flinch. Didn't even blink. Just looked her dead in the eye and said the one thing that finally cracked her little performance. I'm filing. You'll get the papers soon. And then I added, And Stella, I'm keeping it all. The house. The dog. The car. The memories. You can have those. I'm done with them. She opened her mouth, maybe to argue, maybe to cry, probably both. But I didn't stick around to hear it. I turned and walked back inside. Didn't look over my shoulder. Because once you see someone for who they really are, you never want to see them again. I thought walking away would feel like winning. Like slipping out of a prison I didn't know I'd been trapped in. But here's the truth. When you finally leave that cell, the weight of it doesn't just fall off. It follows you. For a while, people started noticing the shift. Coworkers, friends, even my mom. They saw it in my eyes, quieter now, more closed off, like I'd been sanded down by something sharp. I wasn't the nice guy anymore. I was the guy who sat silent in meetings. The one who didn't join for drinks. The guy who let texts pile up unanswered. I wasn't trying to be cold. I was just trying to breathe without choking on the bitterness she left behind. Stella didn't disappear. Of course she didn't. She went loud. Her social media lit up like a fireworks show. Photos of her on some healing journey, yoga poses, sunrise filters, captions about energy and freedom and rediscovering self-love. She was rebranding. From cheating narcissist to misunderstood goddess. She even posted a black and white photo from our wedding with a caption that said, "Love is complicated. Sometimes two souls must part to find themselves again." I nearly threw up. The comments were worse. "You're so strong. Sending you light. You deserve happiness." No one knew. No one wanted to know. Because that's the thing about lies. They're prettier than the truth. Easier to swallow. And Stella? She was a master of the performance. She didn't just lie with words. She lied with body language, with posture, with those crocodile tears that came right on cue. If you didn't know better, you'd believe her. Hell, I did. Then one night, my phone buzzed. It was a message from a guy, one of the ones from the burner phone videos. His name was John. Generic type. Gym guy. Tight jawline. Baseball cap always turned backward in every photo. "Hey man, I didn't know she was married. Just wanted you to know that." I stared at it for a long minute, then typed back. "She told you we had an open marriage, didn't she?" He responded almost immediately. "Yeah. She said you knew. Said you had another girlfriend and didn't want to go public. Said you were insecure." I laughed out loud. It wasn't joyful. It was hollow. Exhausted. I could have guessed it, sure. But hearing it confirmed? That hit different. She didn't just cheat. She rewrote the whole narrative. Painted me as weak. Made me the ghost in my own story. She didn't just betray me. She erased me. John offered to testify if it ever came to that. I told him thanks, but I didn't need it. I had enough. And just when I thought life might finally leave me alone, fate twisted the knife. I ran into her at the grocery store. It had been about a month since I left. I was there picking up frozen dinners, nothing fancy. I hadn't made a real meal since that day I walked out. And there she was. Same perfectly applied makeup. Same fake peaceful vibe. Same sad hazel eyes that knew how to turn it on when it served her. "Thomas," she said, smiling like we were old classmates bumping into each other. "How are you holding up?" I didn't look up from the freezer door. "Better than you expected," I said. She smiled again. "You've always been strong. That was one thing I really admired about you." "Admired?" I repeated, still not looking at her. "Before or after the hotel rooms?" Her eyes darted around the aisle. Not because she felt bad, but because public scenes made her nervous. She liked her drama in private, where she could control the script. "I know I hurt you," she said softly, "but I wasn't trying to destroy you. I needed more. I needed something different." I finally turned and looked her in the eye. "You didn't destroy me, Stella," I said. "You exposed yourself. Big difference." She blinked. I wasn't done. "And just so we're clear, I don't hate you. What I hate is what I became because of you. I hate the version of myself that stayed when I should have walked away months, maybe years ago." Her eyes shifted, but not from guilt. No tears. Just calculation. She was sizing up the damage. Figuring out how much cleanup she'd need to do this time. Maybe she thought this was her shot to rewrite the ending. But I wasn't handing her the pen. I turned around and walked off. Didn't wait for her to speak. Didn't even glance back. I stepped into the parking lot and took a deep breath, like the cold air belonged to me now. Like I was finally allowed to breathe it. Later that night, I sat in my apartment, half furnished, a little dusty, quiet as hell. But this kind of quiet didn't feel lonely anymore. I looked around and realized something. The silence? It wasn't screaming at me anymore. It sounded like peace. A week later, the divorce was officially filed. My lawyer called it one of the smoothest cases he'd ever worked. With all the evidence I had, he didn't need to bluff once. When her attorney saw the screenshots, the messages, the videos, Stella folded. No arguments. No fights over the house. Not even a whisper about the dog. She just wanted it to be civil. Which meant she knew there was no winning this one. And still, she couldn't help herself. Right after signing, she called me. Blocked number. I picked up without thinking. "Why'd you have to make it ugly?" she said. "No hello. No I'm sorry." Straight to the blame. Like I was the one who burned it all down. "I didn't make it ugly, Stella," I said. "You did. I just turned the lights on." She let out a deep sigh, like I was exhausting her. Like I was the problem. "You used to be kind," she muttered. "Yeah, I used to be married." Silence. Then her voice softened. That fake, sweet tone she always used when she wanted something. I wish things had been different." "They were different," I said. "You just wanted more." "You'll find someone," she told me. "You're not as broken as you think." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it stung in that special way only she knew how to deliver. Like a slap dressed up as a compliment. She hung up before I could reply, and I just sat there, phone still to my ear, realizing something. She never really listened. Not once. Not to what I said. Not to how I felt. She just acted, played her roles. And I was her longest-running co-star. After that call, I blocked her number. Not out of spite, out of survival. You can't start healing if the wound keeps calling you at midnight. But healing didn't come in some big, cinematic wave. It came in fragments. Tiny, ordinary moments that slowly built something steady. The first night I slept through without reaching for someone who wasn't there. The first trip to the store where I didn't imagine her choosing the cereal. The first time a woman smiled at me in line at the bank, and I didn't flinch or feel like damaged goods. I started working out again. Not to win the breakup. Not for revenge. I just wanted to feel strong again. Like myself. I read more. Cleaned up the apartment. Took the dog on long walks. Let silence exist beside me without turning it into a ghost. Then one night, I stood in front of the mirror. Not flexing. Not pretending. Just looking. And for the first time in a long while, I saw me. Not the man she manipulated. Not the guy bending backward trying to keep her attention. Just me. A little bruised, yeah, but upright. Breathing. Still standing. A few weeks later, a friend invited me to a party. I almost said no. But something inside said go. I wasn't hiding anymore. Besides, I had nothing to be ashamed of. I'd loved someone who didn't deserve it. And I'd made it out the other side, clean. That night, I met someone. Her name was Claire. Brown hair, warm eyes, and a smile that made you feel like starting over was allowed. We didn't talk about exes. Not that night. We talked about music, coffee, dumb stuff. Stuff that felt light. And for the first time in forever, I didn't feel like I had to explain who I was or what I'd been through. I just existed. And she seemed to like that version of me. The quiet one. The real one. The one I'd buried under years of trying to be something for someone who never cared. We traded numbers. No pressure. No racing ahead. I didn't imagine our future. I just walked away with something I hadn't carried in a long time. Hope. Not fireworks. Not epiphanies. Just a quiet, steady hope. And maybe that's the part no one tells you. Betrayal breaks you in ways you never saw coming. It cracks parts of you that you didn't even know could fracture. But here's the strange thing. It also reveals what's left beneath all the wreckage. The part of you that still wants to keep going. To feel again. To love again. Not blindly. Not out of desperation. But fully. And only when it's right. Because now, I finally know where my line is. What I'll accept, and what I'll never settle for again. A few months passed. Life, somehow, kept marching forward. Some days I felt like I was stumbling just to keep up. Tripping over old memories. Haunted by echoes of her voice. But then there were days when I didn't think about Stella at all. Not once. And those were the days I started to feel alive again. I'd walk through the park and see couples laughing, holding hands. And instead of bitterness, I'd feel this quiet calm settle over me. Because now I understood something I didn't back then. Not every smile is honest. Not every hand you hold is sacred. Some people hold your hand while hiding a knife behind their back. Claire and I started talking more. Just texting at first. Nothing heavy. No pressure. No digging into old wounds. She didn't ask for more than I was ready to give. And I didn't feel the urge to overshare. We just clicked. Like two people who'd been through the fire and understood what honesty was worth. One night we grabbed coffee. No big production. She wore a hoodie. No heavy makeup. And somehow, she looked more beautiful than Stella ever did in red lipstick and stilettos. I like this, she said, sipping her drink. This, just being here with you. No act. No trying too hard. You're calm. You're real. I didn't know what to say at first. Compliments felt foreign. I'd gone so long being ignored or used that I'd forgotten what genuine kindness sounded like. I'm still piecing myself back together, I told her. She just smiled and said, that's okay. Sometimes broken things come back sharper. That hit harder than I expected. We didn't kiss. No fireworks. No big cinematic ending. Just a quiet understanding between us that something good was beginning. And for once, I wasn't afraid of the good. Then out of nowhere, Stella resurfaced. Not in person. Online. She posted some long, dramatic caption about forgiveness and growth. About learning from the damage she may have caused. Vague enough to sound spiritual. Pointed enough to bait sympathy. But anyone who knew the truth saw it for what it was. A PR stunt. Damage control. The kicker? She tagged me, like I was some co-star in her redemption arc. My phone lit up. Texts. Screenshots. Dude, did you see what Stella posted? Bro, is she serious right now? One friend called it her Oscar-worthy performance. I didn't respond. Not publicly. Not privately. I let her shout into the void. Because I'd learned something else. Silence can be louder than a scream. A few days later, she tried again. Sent me a message. I miss our talks. You were my best friend. I stared at it for a while. Then deleted it. Because no, I wasn't her best friend. I was her fallback. Her scapegoat. Her audience. Her shield. And I wasn't signing up for that role again. That was the final thread. And it didn't snap violently. It just came undone. Clean. And with it gone, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Freedom. Not the fake kind she used to pretend she was chasing, but the real kind. The kind you earn. The kind that comes after you walk through hell and make it out breathing. I started writing again. Just small things. Little journal entries. Random thoughts. The kind of poems no one else would understand but me. It helped. Taking the pain, putting it on paper, leaving it there instead of carrying it around like dead weight. One night, I scribbled down a line. She told me I should be grateful she stayed. But I should have left the moment I had to be grateful for basic decency. I read it 3 times. Then closed the notebook and slept like a man who finally knew who he was. And exactly what he'd never put up with again. Stella was gone. Not just from my life, but from my head. From my future. No more ghost in my bed. No more shadow in my conversations. Just gone. And in her place? A man with scars. But stronger because of them. Claire and I didn't turn into some fairy tale overnight. Not even close. There were no fireworks. No sweeping romance. No dramatic confessions under pouring rain. It was slower than that. Quieter. And honestly, it was better because of it. I wasn't ready to dive headfirst into something new. Not after clawing my way out of the wreckage Stella left behind. But Claire never asked for all of me. Not right away. She gave me space. Let me breathe. Laughed at my dry jokes. Sent texts just to check in. And the first time I told her I was still healing, that I wasn't whole yet. She didn't pull away. She just smiled and said, I'm not here to fix you, but I'm here if you want someone beside you while you fix yourself. That line stuck with me. Because with Stella, love had always felt like a transaction. Obey, give some more, and maybe, just maybe, you'd earn a little affection. But Claire? She didn't keep score. She didn't measure care in points. It was just there, freely given. Still, I won't lie. The damage didn't vanish just because someone better came along. Stella left her fingerprints on my reflexes. One night, I caught myself asking Claire where she'd been. Not because I was curious, but because suspicion crept in, quiet and ugly. She looked at me. Calm, but steady. Do you think I'm lying? She asked, her voice soft, but serious. I didn't answer. Because in that moment, I wasn't really seeing her. I was seeing Stella, kicking off those red heels, brushing lipstick off her neck, spinning lies like bedtime stories. But Claire didn't lash out. She didn't get defensive. She just sat down across from me, looked me straight in the eye, and said, You're allowed to feel whatever you feel. But don't punish me for what she did. I'm not her. And I never will be. And she wasn't. That was the difference. I apologized. Not because I wasn't allowed to hurt, but because I let my past hijack my present. Over time, I started trusting again. Not in a wide-eyed, naive kind of way. Piece by piece. I learned how to read silence without assuming it was hiding something. I learned that a late text didn't mean betrayal. It just meant someone was living their life. But more than anything, I learned how to trust myself. Because the worst thing Stella ever did wasn't just the cheating. It was making me doubt my own instincts. She made me second-guess what I saw, what I felt, even what hurt. That kind of manipulation doesn't leave quietly. It lingers. But now, when something feels off, I don't bury it. I speak it. Face it. Handle it. Claire and I started spending weekends together. Nothing flashy. Just walks through the park. Movie nights. Cooking dinner instead of ordering out. One night, she stayed over. Not because of some milestone. Just because it felt natural. We lay in bed. No rush. No pressure. Her head on my chest. Her fingers tracing slow circles on my arm. Do you ever think about her? She asked gently. I didn't lie. Sometimes. Not the way I used to. Not because I miss her. Just because. She taught me what I'll never accept again. She nodded. That's fair. We let the silence settle for a moment. soft and safe. And then I said something I'd never told anyone before. There was this night. I walked in on her, in bed with someone else, and she looked me in the eye and said, "You should be grateful I'm still your wife." Claire froze. Her head lifted slowly, eyes wide. She said that. I nodded. Her eyes narrowed. That woman deserves to step on Legos for the rest of her life. I burst out laughing. The first real, deep-belly laugh I'd had in months. Claire laughed too, and something in that sound settled right into my bones. That's when it hit me. I was done bleeding for someone who wouldn't have blinked if I died on the inside. Now I was with someone who didn't just patch the wounds. She reminded me what it felt like to be whole again. I wasn't naive. I knew relationships still took work. But the difference this time was the foundation. It wasn't built on performance or pressure. It was built on honesty, mutual respect, actual love, and most of all, choice. I chose her, not because I was lonely, not because I needed to fill the space Stella left behind, but because, for the first time in a long time, I wanted to. And that made all the difference. A year later, I stood in front of the mirror. Same man, same eyes, but a completely different presence behind them. The divorce had been finalized months ago. Stella's name was nothing more than a closed file in my lawyer's cabinet. I hadn't seen her, hadn't heard from her, not since that last desperate attempt to pull me back into her pity parade. And honestly, I liked it that way.